I want to start this text of Matthew chapter 11. Well, my text is going to be out of Matthew 11. I'm going to read out Proverbs first. But everybody turn with me to Matthew chapter 11. I want to talk about doubt this morning. And being in the ministry as long as I have, and being a Christian as long as I have, sometimes I forget that a lot of people are going through the struggles that I once went through. I'm not longer going through that. I don't have doubts as much as I used to have. But boy, I remember, man, just God cleansing me and delivering me from a lot of mess and how good I felt. But as I was getting deeper into it, you have those doubts. And like, for example, when you sit through college or any kind of schooling, past high school, and even high school it's there a little bit, they teach in evolution. And the Bible don't teach evolution. They say God made everything. And and then they teach that, Earth is like a zillion trillion years old and billion trillion zillion because it needs a lot of time to create itself. Because you look at such a complex world. I mean, the world is complex and it's awesome. I mean, it really is. No way it could just happen. So they keep adding time and time and time. And I remember you had to deal with those doubts. And that's why I like ministries like Kent Hovind's. Kent Hovind went out and he's like, where's there a void? There's got to be a void somewhere. And he was a science teacher. So he decided he would go out and debate atheists. And he said it's terrifying at first. He said, but once he got the hang of it, it was fun. And he would go all over the planet challenging atheists to debate him on evolution, and he would use scriptures and creation science and Christian, and just totally mutilate them. And sometimes he'd take on 3 or 4 at one time. And I never watched him lose a debate. I hardly ever watched him lose an argument, and so he was way ahead of his time, too, on a lot of agendas. He talked about a lot of things that we're going through now way ahead of his time, and his ministry nowhere near as strong as it once was because he compromised a little bit, but still he helped me. And I want to be helped, too. And I don't talk about creation science that much just because I'm not really interested in it, but probably wouldn't hurt to teach about it a little bit. In science, that wasn't my strongest subject in school, but still, I'm glad I sit through all that. I'm glad Kent Hovind had that ministry, and I'm glad I sit through that stuff because they helped build my faith and find out that stuff they teach in school. It all comes from the same people anyway. Epstein list, the Maxwell guy, Elaine Maxwell, her dad was one that owns all these textbooks anyway. So Zionism believes in the corrupting Christianity, corrupting Christians. So they get stronger and we get weaker. That's why all the major porn sites are owned by rabbis. Now, if you're a holy man of God, you're not going to have porn sites, but they believe the weaker we are, stronger they are. So that's one reason a lot of people is atheists. A lot of people have doubts is because what's being taught in school. And they teach that dinosaurs roamed the earth 3 zillion years ago, and they said the Bible never talks about dinosaurs, but it does. The Bible talks about dragons, and they wasn't called dinosaurs back then. And the name dinosaur didn't come out until like the 1800s. And it talks about Leviathan and Behemoth. And if you read the description, there's no way in the world to be nothing else but dinosaurs. And they found paintings and potteries and historical accounts all over the world of pretty much what we would imagine a dinosaur looking like. All we have is the bones. And a lot of the bones we have ain't complete skeletons, so we really don't know what they look like anyway. And fast forward to the future, we'll find bones with still have the cells in it, still have blood vessels and stuff in it. And I'm like, blood vessels don't last billions and millions, trillions of years. And they try to say carbon dating is just a fact. And if you're honest with yourself, if they find a big long like whale or shark or dinosaur or something, they could carbon date the front of it, and it's millions of years different than the back of it. And they found like hammers in coal mines, and they found tools in coal mines and find stuff in coal mines that coal miners have left behind. And if they carbon date it, it'll say it's millions of years old. It ain't millions of years old. They just left it there less than 100 years ago. So that stuff right there is all set up 100% to make us doubt. And they teach the world's trillions of years old. Well, the Bible don't teach that. The Bible teaches the earth is fairly young, and the reason it just got corrupted so fast. You had Adam and Eve. It took no time. Their kids started getting corrupted. Their descendants started getting corrupted, and then the earth got so violent, and then God wiped it out, started all over with Noah and his family. It didn't take that long, and they was trying to build the Tower of Babel, and they got corrupted again. God babbled them. And God promised not to ever destroy the world through a flood again. And people's like, well, I doubt the flood. You go on top of Clint's Mountain up here. In my fireplace, in my house, they went to the top of Clint's Mountain, top of it, and dug out rocks with fossils on it. Aquatic fossils, marine life fossils on it. How would they get there if there wasn't water up there? And a lot of water. And so, every tribe and every nation has a flood account somewhere. You could go to a tribe out some island nobody's ever found before, and there'll be people there nobody's ever seen before, and they will have a flood account. That's just a fact all over the world. So it happened. And then in mountains of Ararat, Turkey, there's a big old boat-shaped looking thing. It's exactly the size of the ark would have been. It's exactly where it's supposed to be. It's a boat out in the middle on top of a mountain where no water is at now. And there's a flood had been there. There's anchors all over that area, little giant anchors that are, thousands of years old. And I believe that's part of the ark. And I believe a lot of the ancient structures we find, a lot of them were, destroyed in the flood and everything. So it's easy for me to believe once you find out that we've been lied to so much. And the Santa Claus stuff, telling kids that they like messing with kids with the Santa Claus and Easter Bunny, and the kids put all their faith in that just to find out down the road. It's not true. Sorry, I hate to read it for you. Just to find out down the road that it ain't even true. And then it makes you question, well, if God ain't true? And I dealt with that hard. That's why I never told my kids that stuff. I was like, look, don't go to school, cause much trouble. There ain't no Santa Claus, man, that jumps down no chimney and gives every kid in the world presents, gives the poor kids 2 or 3 presents, give the rich kids, hooks them up. I said, that ain't true. And ain't no elves building no toys. It's slave labor in China building toys, So that's, but I'm not going to lie to my kids messing with them because the Bible said don't to lie. But somehow, how did everybody get caught up in doing that, Gary? How did everybody get caught up in telling their kids that some Santa Claus man jumps down chimneys and gives everybody toys? Gives kids toys. If you're good, you get a bunch. You don't, you get nothing. And then everybody will fight and stand in line for hours to sit their kid on a man's lap. And today's, this day and time, you don't want nobody, kids' laps, nothing. And I just don't understand how everybody get caught up in that. They just like messing with kids. I think it's just fun messing with kids and using their vulnerability. But that causes doubt. So you got all this evolution, and you've got all this Santa Claus and all this science, false science so-called. And then one thing that troubled me, I remember me and my friends were getting into the Christianity so strong. And we was just so happy. And we had to leave our friends behind, friends that we liked. Used to is more sociable in person than it is now. Now you just talk to people on your phones and get through that. Now used to kids get out, ride bicycles together. Now they just sit at home, play games, from miles apart. Just sit home, play games. That's a new way of socializing now. And I mean, it's just a fact. It's just the sign of the times. But, we had a lot of friends and we socialized a lot. And we had to give my friends up to be around Christians because the Bible said don't be unequally yoked. And we can't be sitting here trying to live for God around a bunch of people smoking dope, huffing gas, drinking all the time. So we had to be away from that stuff. And being away from it hurts. You miss your friends and everything. And then I remember one of my good friends, how disappointed he was to find out there's so many hypocrites amongst the church that we was going to, amongst the people we was around. They had their hands raised during the service, run the aisles and everything behind the scenes. They wasn't living for God at all. They just as vulgar as most people that found out our mentor was sleeping around, slept around a few times and everything with different people that really messed us up. And it hurt them. And I just remember that doubt caused him to fall, backslash. I'm going to go back around my old friends. At least they ain't hypocrites. Because hypocrites, I'm telling you, that's just a nasty, foul thing to be. And as a Christian, I believe if you live any time at all, you're going to have your slip-ups. You're going to have your mess-ups. You're going to drop your ball. There's going to be some things happen that's going to mess you up and aggravate you and everything. But I tell you, it don't make you a hypocrite. That just makes you human. But the hypocrites that just lives that lifestyle in church are just holier than thou behind the scene. They're just garbage. And that's just the worst thing to be as a hypocrite. And we don't want to be a hypocrite. But I remember right before, I was watching a lot of my friends backslide. A pastor that I looked up to a little bit, he called me and warned me when I started going to like more Pentecostal type churches. He said, listen, man, he said, be careful what you're getting into. He said, you could be getting into some bad stuff. He said, I ain't your parents. I just kind of warn you. And I appreciate that. I said, man, dude, I appreciate that. I really do. And I did. I appreciate it. But then he got caught messing around with a bunch of women and stuff in church, a pastor. And I'm like, man, that stumbled me. And I remember seeing him out one day, and he just waved at me, and I'm like, dude, I waved back. I wasn't rude to him. I'm like, you're a pastor. You sleep around women. You can't do that. And I remember walking into a bookstore, and a pastor sitting there reading porn in a bookstore. I mean, just eating it up. I said, dude, you're a pastor. And I just remember, like, the doubt started trying to hit me. Like, man, is this worth it? I was like, is there anybody out here that's really living right? Is it all just a bunch of hypocrites? And I remember that doubt was bothering me, and it troubled me. And that we got to be careful and that the devil don't use doubts against us. And I think every human being on earth can have doubts every now and then. Every Christian will have doubts every now and then. That's not necessarily unbelief. Unbelief is just pure sin. If you don't believe in Jesus Christ, you can't get to heaven unless you have belief. So unbelief, but there's a lot of people in the Bible that had doubts at one time. And then some of the strong ministers that I kind of like look up to, I just remember them talking, sometimes your faith is way up here, sometimes it's down here. It goes up and down. It seems like God don't ever just keep us on an equal plane. It's just a roller coaster, and it's like an obstacle course. It's the path that God gets us on. That's what makes us strong. And then you wonder, people say things like, why there's so much evil in the world? There's God. He's so good. Why is kids dying of cancer? Why is people going to hell? And why is murder going on everywhere? And that's a good point. They don't have a bad point. But here's the thing: it's got to be evil so you know what good is. It's got to be bad so you know what good is. So that's and plus a lot of the things that's going on that's so wicked in the world, we allowed it by disobeying God. We've elected governments and allow governments to thrive and take over everything that's godless. And then our culture gets godless, and our food's tainted, and our air's tainted, and our clothes, everything we got are just toiletries, like deodorants, everything, they're all tainted. And then we wonder, oh God, why is everything bad happening? Well, because we let it. It's a lot of it. You know, why is the rapes and stuff go on? Because we allow porn everywhere. If it wasn't porn, it would be so much rape. You know, it's just like, it's our fault, a lot of what wickedness, but none of us going to live forever. There's going to be things that's going to kill us. There's going to be disease. There's going to be die. But that's just, you can't have heaven unless you know what bad is and what awful stuff is. And you got a choice. You don't know what bad is until you know what good is. And there's a distinction there, you know. And so we know when we take our last breath, it's either going to be all bad or all good, one of the two. And that's why we come out here and rent a building out here in the middle of town, because we're trying to warn people and tell people. And that's why we spend our time, spend all day. I could be listening to Pantera all day yesterday. I could be listening to New Kids on the Block all day yesterday. I could be listening to NSYNC or Michael Jackson all day yesterday. But I listen to preaching and teaching in the Bible and gospel music because I want to learn so I can help people out, which it benefits me, though. It don't hurt me at all. It makes me feel real good. I'm going to read a little bit here out of Proverbs chapter 3, but stay with Matthew 11. I'll just read this real quick. But this is the answer to all the doubt. And I want to go ahead and get the answer early. Just go so I don't preach the whole message and forget to leave you the answer to the doubt when I finish. But it says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not to thy own understanding. Note real quick. I guess like we're talking here, you know, we ain't hit a lick hardly at all since we've been in Rutledge, you know, attendance-wise. I remember at Faith Realm, one of our worst attendance, we had 60 one Wednesday night. Next Wednesday, we had 3. It was me, Gary, and James. We were like, how do we go from 60 to 3? And then we done the math, and everybody was on vacation. Pay attention to me. Everybody was on vacation. So I was like, okay, so maybe everybody didn't quit us. Everybody's on vacation. That's what it was. You know, the next Wednesday, we was back on track. Not 60, but we was back on track. And I remember a few services, we had 14 people. I'm like, boy, we've hit rock bottom. I was like, how are we going to get by with just 14 people coming? You know, that's just on Sunday morning. Sunday nights is always 20. Wednesday nights always 30-something. But here we ain't got 14's all we got. That's our biggest attendance. I'm like, oh, my goodness. So, you know, it's like, I know God wants us here. I felt God lead me here. I'm not stupid. I've been in this a long time. I know God's put it here. But you start having doubts. Like, am I doing this right? Is there something I need to do different? And we try to lean on our own understanding on this stuff. Try to figure out what's going on. And I know what's going on. We just hadn't found our niche. We hadn't found a way to really reach people. We found a way to talk. Advertisement and paper didn't work. The newspaper didn't work. The radio didn't work. And we've talked to a lot of people one-on-one, behind a lot of people one-on-one. We try to get people from old churches. Just something ain't connected yet. So we got to pray. And you know, the devil's going to fight. He's not going to be like, I'm going to stand back and just let you all prosper and boom. No, he's going to fight. And there's principalities and powers there. And I have no doubt, and I've been in church a long time. I've been a Christian a long time. No doubt. How many people will get up in the morning and say, I'm going to go to church today. And then they'll look at the driveway and they'll have a visitor. And they'll say, I'm going to go to church today. And then their phone will ring, be some big mouth wanting to talk their head off while the church is going on. I would go to church today, and then some movie comes out or something. It's always something will come up. If you're not strong in the Lord, it'll pull you away, keep you from going to church. I understand that's going on everywhere. But anyway, he said, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, lean not to thine own understanding, Proverbs 3:6. And in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he should direct thy paths. And that's what I'm doing with this place. I'm acknowledging it. God put us here. God put us in this town. God set it up for this day and this time to be here in this service right now. And now what can we do to make it better? What can we do to reach more people? What can I do to make my sermons better? What can we do to make the music better? There's a lot of stuff that I'm praying about. There's a lot of paths I could take. There's a lot of paths that we all can take, but it needs to take a different path than it is now because we're not being as effective as we need to be. So I'm praying, what's something we can do to be more effective? And so, but it says we acknowledge him and he'll direct you. And because we can't really always direct ourselves with our mind because our mind will get us in trouble. Our mind will think of things to do, our own understanding will think of things to do don't make a lick of sense, and we'll just mess up. When I started Faith Realm, God told me don't start it till I tell you. And I told people God's going to have me in that building one day. I woke up one day, God said, today's the day, go get it. And the landlord was standing out in the parking lot waiting on me, didn't know it. And just a lot of miraculous things happened. And the timing was right. There was a group of people that was looking for a church to go to, a big group of people. So our first service had 55 people. If I'd started it a week or two earlier, it wouldn't have happened. If I started a month or two earlier, it wouldn't have happened. It was God's time and it was right. So acknowledge him and he will direct your path. So that's all we can do. That's the answer to all this. You got doubts, acknowledge him and he'll direct your path. And it says, be not wise in own eyes, fear the Lord and depart from evil. And that's another thing too. It's hard to get direction from God if you're living in sin. If you're walking around evil, be around evil people, getting advice from evil people. Evil people cannot direct you on God. And I've said this a few times since I started this church. I went back to watching YouTube again, hunting for some good teachers, hunting for some good preachers. I want to learn. I'm always hungry to learn about God. And now the popular teachers, they decorate the background with liquor bottles. And I'm like, one pastor said that there was 750 people. He's not very famous. He's not TV, radio preacher. 750 people came to one of his services, like Easter service. And he decorates the background of his videos with liquor bottles. It looks like he's at a bar. I'm like, what kind of church and what kind of pastor has liquor bottles, liquor bottle church, liquor bottle man? So I don't want to get my advice about God from that dude. One of the biggest teachers on Facebook now, Taylor Welch, I think is his name. He's a cool guy, trendy guy. He messes his hair up on purpose, and he's sitting there on the couch. He has famous, like charismatic type preachers and teachers and stuff on, and liquor bottles in the background. Looks like he's sitting at a bar. I don't want to get my advice. I don't want those kind of people to direct my path. So I'm telling you, the Antichrist is coming. He's going to want you to follow. Them people are there to make money. They're there because they found a niche. They said, we can get into Christianity. There's a big old void there. We can make videos, do talk shows. People will watch it. People are hungry for God. We'll jump in. We'll trick them. We'll make them think we know what we're going to do. And devil, it's just like, it's the devil religion. You have to tell people what you're going to do. When they got liquor bottles behind them, that's telling you I'm wicked and you don't need to listen to me. And if you listen to them anyway, shame on you. It's not going to hurt them as much as it's going to hurt you because they told you. They ain't trying to hide nothing anymore. And Elon Musk talks about he's got kids through different women through artificial insemination. And one of them, she wasn't getting paid. She wasn't getting her child support. So she started out and she said, yeah, Elon told me that he's got technology to shoot lasers from the sky. And the Revelation talks about the Antichrist, and what we call the Antichrist, some tradition. That they'll be shooting fire from the sky. That's part of the miracles. And he talks about how brain chips can cure people of all these diseases and stuff. And, if you don't believe in God and you doubt God and you say, man, I believe in him if I could see some stuff, if I could see some miracles. That's why I don't trash miracles. We're supposed to have miracles. Jesus done miracles that we're supposed to do greater than what he did. That's what the Bible says. And I don't shoot it down in loyalty to some bad denomination. I don't shoot that down. The Bible says it. I've got to believe it. And I've seen miracles done, not as much as they used to be. But when all that stuff dies out, Christianity's flat, nobody sees nothing, people just crying and getting emotional. They say, man, is this even real? And they start seeing lasers come out of the sky, miracles happen. And right now, if you're suicidal, they direct you to a hotline since you're just talking to AI. And AI will talk you out of killing yourself. Like, well, I can communicate with AI. I can communicate with God. I pray to God. It's like it's bouncing off the ceiling. Because God's got it set up where you have to be spiritual and you have to have faith and you got to be holy to communicate with him. So everybody's going to jump on board with their doubt and their disbelief on this new future religion. And the Bible talks about Daniel stuff. It's like a God of forces. It's something that they didn't understand then. It's something that they didn't have then. They said, we don't have it now, but in the future it's going to be here. It's going to be a God of forces. And these people fall in doubt and they start seeing this stuff. They're going to start following it. And what's Christians going to do? How are we going to counter it? When the magicians in Egypt, when Moses and the Egyptian magicians was having a standoff, they could do a few miracles. Moses done a few miracles, they could copy it. But then Moses kept going. They couldn't copy it no more because he had way more power than them. But when we had the form of godliness, but deny the power, what are we going to do? Well, now these demonic miracles start happening everywhere. And everybody starts getting in these demonic religions. They start seeing things. You know why a lot of people got into witchcraft when they started watching Harry Potter and all that things? Because they start seeing stuff happen. They'd put a love spell on a woman and she'd have a crush on them next day. They'd put a hex on somebody and see them next day have a car wreck or something. They say, oh, there's actually something to this. No, that's demonic stuff. There's something to it. It's demonic and the Bible forbids it. But Christians are supposed to be walking in the miraculous. We're supposed to be walking in the spiritual. We're supposed to be walking in the signs and wonders. And we've let these big mouth sell-out preachers, these dead denominations, just run their big mouths and kill it. And what do they always point at? Oh, look at these false prophets. They sit there and tell you get rich if you give them all the money. And they're supposedly walking around doing all these miracles. They're supposedly going around doing all these signs and wonders. And they ain't doing nothing, ripping people off. And that's why the Bible says there's going to be people there's going to be deceptions coming. There's going to get waxed worse and worse. And the deception's going to get worse and worse. And these teachers are going to get worse and worse. That's another thing that made me start down a lot. When I started looking into my teachers I looked up to so much. I gave you a Dake's Bible. To me, that's the best help. I think the dude was sincere, but he wrote a lot of it in prison because he picked up some young girl and drove across the border with her. And if he touched her or done anything with her, I don't know, but he went to prison for it. And that bothered me. It bothered me when I used to read all Benny Hinn's books and he'd pack out the basketball stadium up here. That's the last of the preachers I know can pack out a stadium. And it bothered me when I started seeing him holding hands with Paula White. And I started reading the Bible and found out he's full of it. And started realizing, man, Jesus didn't walk around in jets and gold toilets and live like a zillionaire and all that. Jesus walked on foot and preaching everybody. Didn't even have a place to lay his head. I'm like, these guys are scammers. These guys are snakes. And then the go-to guys, I buy their DVDs to listen to because they're interested. And you just find out, man, they're on pills and chase women and chase little girls. And half the TV preachers get caught with being chomos and drugs and chasing women. And half the radio preachers, same thing. And I tell you, down the road, these liquor bottle YouTubers, you're going to find out the worst stuff. These Hillsong people and everything, you find out and start all these big churches that popped up everywhere and just got packed out. And when a preacher's got his shirt unbuttoned all the way down to his belly button, like he's in the 70s disco, that's a pretty good sign. He might not be no count to listen to. But what can you say? Anyway, they walk around. And I tell you, it's going to create doubt. All this sin inside the Christian community is going to create doubt on so many people. And then the devil will come with his Antichrist. He's waiting, man. He's patient. He's a lot more patient than we are. But I'm going to get right here and read Matthew 11, where I had everybody turn to. And we know that John the Baptist was a forerunner of Jesus Christ coming. We know John the Baptist talked very highly of Jesus. And he said, I'm going to have to lessen. He's going to have to greater. I'm not even worthy to latch his shoes. He's so great. And John the Baptist, he had a following. John the Baptist, he found his niche. He's out in the wilderness in the camel's hair and a leather belt and eating locusts and wild honey. He's a wild man. He's supposed to be a priest in the temple. But he went a different direction. He went out and done his ministry out in the wilderness, and he was baptizing people. People come out in the wilderness to hear it. See, sometimes people are scared to preach against sin and preach the truth. People don't like it. Man, sometimes people like it. There's something in us that really likes to get our toes stepped on. There's something in us that wants to be corrected. So John the Baptist was popular. And he called people snakes and vipers, and God on them, man. But he's baptizing people. And he spoke good of Jesus. And he's like, I'm going to listen. And Jesus going more. And some of Jesus' disciples were followers of John. And he let them go. Like, leave me, follow Jesus. Jesus is the man. And then because some trashy young girl danced for Herod around all his liquor bottle friends, around drinking liquor. And it pleased him. He said, I'll give you everything going up to half my kingdom. This old Jezebel wife left her husband with his brother to marry him. And listen, one thing I got to warn to. If you single women's going to be out looking for men, single men's be out looking for women, leave the married ones alone. Because I promise you, God is not fixing you up with a married man, married woman, ever, your whole life. Unless one of them dies and they're free, they're not fixing you up. And I've had people come to me, oh man, I need counseling. This woman's having trouble. Her husband's, I'm like, what? Her husband, no, run. No, they're having a lot of problems. I don't care. Run. But ministers tell them, well, I'll pray about it. No praying about it. Go. Leave the married ones alone. There's enough single ones out there. Leave the married one alone. A lot of these women, they'll leave their men for greener pastures and divorce their men for greener pastures. And who do they usually go after? Married men. Leave the married people alone. Don't break up homes. Don't break up families. Don't do like this John the Baptist's wife here, Herod's wife. Anyway, John told Herod, he said, that's an unlawful marriage. You can't take your brother's wife. Leave your brother's wives alone too. And it's like, and she got mad. So when the time comes, she had an opportunity and she had the power. She decided to use that power to cut John the Baptist's head off. And here we are scared what we preach. Well, I guess we might need to be. We'll get our heads cut off by these Jezebels out here. But you know what? He's in prison now. He had a great ministry. He's a forerunner of Messiah. Jesus out here burning and turning, and he's sitting there in prison. So verse 2, so when John heard in prison the works of Christ, he sent two of his disciples and said unto him, art thou he that should come, or do we look for another? And Jesus answered and said to them, go and show John again the things which you do hear and see. Now listen, Jesus came to serve us. He said, if you want to be great in the kingdom of God, you've got to serve. And he didn't trash John the Baptist for having this doubt. And see, there was a great belief back then that the Messiah was going to come. And they had scriptures in the Old Testament. There's little things he's missing. But see, when the Messiah would come, he would rule and reign. And they're like, man, Jesus ain't ruling and reigning. I'm in jail. And they thought he was going to conquer the Roman armies and set up. Well, Jesus is going to, down the road. He's going to take over Jerusalem. He's going to be based out of Jerusalem. And when he comes to do that, but the first coming, he didn't do that. First coming, he comes to save souls. And people were confused. Like, man, I thought he was going to come whoop people. But they missed the parts in the Old Testament prophecies when it talks about Israel or Jerusalem having no walls. They got walls. They've always had walls. Everybody used to everybody kissing it and praying on it, right? All the presidents and stuff. They had it then. They had big walls in. But the Bible said when the Messiah comes, and does the fighting and whatever, there's going to be no walls because there's going to be peace everywhere. No, they missed that. They was missing everything. Everybody got it wrong. So John the Baptist was like, where's our warlord at? I thought we was going to conquer everything. But it's spiritual conquer. It's spiritual fight the first time. Anyway, he said, and Jesus came to serve. And read all this that he does is service. The blind receive their sight. Service. The lame walk, that's a service. The leopards are cleansed, service to us. The deaf hear, it's a service to us. The dead are raised up, it's a service to us. And the poor have the gospel preached to them. And that was, I like the way he ended that. I said, look, the poor is neglected by all these snotty religious leaders and all these political leaders. And said, look, God sent us to the poor. The poor is preached to. Good sign that we are part of the Messiah, I'm God and I'm the Messiah. And blessed is he whoever should not be offended to me. And what Jesus is saying there, if you follow his teachings and you believe in what he says and you follow him, believe in him, you'll be blessed. But if you're not, if you're offended him, you don't like that stuff, you're going to end up, you think things are bad now. You die and go to hell and see how bad things end up being. 7. As that part of Jesus began to say unto the multitudes concerning John, multitudes now, not just disciples, what went you out in the wilderness to see? A reed shaking wind? But went you out to see a man clothed in soft raiment? Behold, they wear soft clothing in king's houses. Not anymore. Now we got soft clothes. But then, you didn't have no soft clothes as you was king. But what you went out to see? A prophet? Yea, I say unto you, and more than a prophet. For this is he of whom it is written, Behold, I send my messenger before thy face, which shall prepare thee the way before thee. Verily I say unto you, among them is born of women, there have not risen a greater than John the Baptist. Notwithstanding, he that is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. Now, Jesus didn't trash John the Baptist. Jesus didn't talk bad about him. He says the greatest prophet ever been on the earth up to that time. And John the Baptist had doubt. And sometimes doubt helps build our faith up. I don't believe the Bible has contradictions at all if you got the right Bible. And sometimes you're running something to scratch your head, like the cocks crowing and all that, and you run this thing like, but then when you find your answer, and it usually don't take a day if you're sincere, you pray to God, you try to find the answer to that, and you find your answer, your faith's stronger. And it's like the more doubts you conquer, the more stronger you get. So doubt's not necessarily always a bad thing. Just don't stay there. Don't turn it into unbelief. But with Peter, like it can be bad. It can hurt you on your faith. So don't get me wrong. We don't want doubt. But doubt sometimes can turn against the devil, can turn against the enemy just to build our faith stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And I tell you, a lot of my faith, I'm strong now. It's because I've overcome all this stuff, this evolution and all this Bible contradiction, all this stuff like that. I've spent my time, I've done my homework, and I know it don't. I know this is a powerful, powerful book that God gave us, and he gave it just the way he wanted it. These little side books, everybody says, it should be part of the Bible. No, it should not. If it's supposed to be part of the Bible, it'd be in it. God does not lose books. He does not hide books. He don't say special books for the enlightened ones that contradict the far out of the rest of it. And, but anyway, he said, and 13 for all, 12. And in the days of John the Baptist and now, the kingdom of heaven served violence, and violence take by force. For the prophets and the law prophesied to John. And if you were to see this, Elijah would come, and he that hath ears, let him hear. But where until like this generation, instead of children sitting in the markets calling their fellows, saying, We have pipe unto you. Have you not danced? We have mourned unto you. Have you not lamented? For John came neither eating nor drinking, and they say he hath the devil. Always an excuse not to listen to the word of God. Always an excuse not to listen to true ministers. Oh, he's got a devil. He's he won't eat or drink. He's fasting. He's got a hat on. He's got a beard. He's got a gold watch, a fake gold. Bible talks about a fake gold watch, or he's bald or something. There's always some kind of excuse. He's got a microphone or something. Always some kind of excuse not to listen. And in 18, for John came neither eating nor drinking. They say you have the devil. The Son of Man came eating and drinking. They say, Behold, a man gluttonous and a winebibber, a friend of publicans and sinners. But wisdom is justified versus children. 20, then began he to upbraid the cities where most of his mighty works were done, because they repented not. Now this is where doubt will hurt you. This is where doubt will ruin you and destroy you and damn your soul. These cities seen Jesus do all these great miracles, and what did they do? They turned it back on. I'm almost done. And he said, Woe unto thee, Chorazin, woe unto thee, Bethsaida, for if the mighty works which were done in you had been done at Tyre and Sodom, they would have repented long ago in sackcloth and ashes. And guess what? Chorazin and Bethsaida cursed. Ain't hardly nobody living in them now. They went through some terrible things right after Jesus cursed them. And you go there today, there's hardly anybody living there at all, because it's cursed. Used to be great big cities, now ain't nobody living there. For I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable, Tyre and Sodom, day judgment you. And thou, Capernaum, which art exalted to heaven, shall be brought down to hell. For the mighty works which have been done in thee have been done in Sodom, and have remained unto this day. But I tell you that it shall be more tolerable for the land of Sodom in the day of judgment for you. Everybody says that God don't talk about homosexuals in the New Testament. It does. Or Jesus didn't. So we know Romans talks about it. Paul talks about it. But here, Jesus compared the wickedness of rejecting him after seeing God do such great miracles in his name to being worse than what was going on in Sodom. He said, Sodom in the day of judgment, they're not going to go to heaven. They're not going to be blessed. But he says it's going to be more tolerable for them than Tyre and Sodom, because they seen God, Jesus raise the dead, blind eyes, deaf. That stuff don't happen. He done that stuff in front of them to prove that God is real, and they still doubted, they still unbelieved him. He cursed them. Those cities today, nobody's there. Nobody lives home. Used to be great big cities. They're in a prime place. They're all cursed. There's nobody living there. And Anyway, I wanted to get to that before I ended it, just to show you the answer to Jesus, the doubt, is acknowledge Him, and He'll direct your path. So when you've got doubts, just know, God got you where you're at. And you hit some kind of bump in the road. You're on an obstacle course. Your life is an obstacle course, especially in Christianity. Just take that bump in the road. Ask God to see you through it. Don't lean on your own understanding, because we don't know. God knows everything. Gary, I know I was telling you about, just some financial struggles. God knows I could walk out that door to make one decision, do one thing, and I'd be a trillionaire. God knows what I can do that. I don't. So I can't lean on my understanding. I have to pray God's help. God help me. I need help. I can't lean on my understanding. Help me figure out what to do. If I do that, if I acknowledge Him, He will direct our paths. And let's follow that recipe. Let's follow Him, and He will direct our paths, and we'll see accomplishments coming down the road following that recipe. And I'm done.